You're not here by accident. Something inside you is seeking clarity, a truth that others might avoid. Have you ever wondered why so many married women seem emotionally unsatisfied, despite having everything they once said they wanted? The house, the husband, the family, the career. Yet something still drives them to seek validation elsewhere. This isn't about blame, it's about truth. And the Stoics would say, you're asking the wrong questions. By the end of this video, you'll see relationships and your own emotional detachment in a very different light. You'll understand not just the what, but the why behind this phenomenon that affects so many modern marriages. She has the husband, the house, the Instagram perfect life. So why does she still post thirst traps? Why seek validation from strangers when she has a partner who's committed everything to her? It's a pattern you've likely noticed. The wedding photos fade into memory, and within months or years, the same woman who promised forever is now seeking attention from anyone but her husband. We live in an age of constant comparison. Digital narcissism has become normalized, and modern culture has redefined what validation means, especially for women. Studies show that women consume significantly more social media content than men. They're more likely to post personal content, more likely to check responses, and more likely to report emotional shifts based on online feedback. But this isn't just about technology. It's about a fundamental aspect of human nature that technology has merely amplified. What if I told you the Stoics warned us about this phenomenon 2,000 years ago? That they understood this human tendency long before Instagram filters and like buttons existed? Epictetus, one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, wrote, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." This isn't about claiming women are broken. They aren't. But the modern systems that reward attention-seeking behavior, those systems are indeed broken. The core of Stoic philosophy teaches self-sufficiency, that true peace comes from within. In Greek, they called this autarkia, self-rule, self-sufficiency. This stands in stark contrast to our culture of externalized identity-seeking, where worth is measured in views, likes, and comments. The Stoics believed that emotions come from judgments, not from external events themselves. When a woman feels unseen by her husband, the pain doesn't come from his behavior alone, but from her judgment that his attention should determine her worth. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that living in accordance with nature means recognizing what is within our control and what isn't. And herein lies the problem. Many modern relationships are built on the unstable foundation of external validation. But how does this apply to a woman who already has it all, yet still feels unseen? To understand this phenomenon, we must look at both evolutionary psychology and modern sociological factors. Throughout human history, women's survival often depended on being valued by the group. While men could sometimes survive as lone hunters or warriors, women with children needed community support. This created an evolutionary advantage for women who were sensitive to social feedback. This isn't speculation. It's reflected in brain studies showing that women's brains typically have more active mirror neurons, greater connectivity between logical and emotional centers, and heightened responsiveness to social cues. A woman's brain is literally wired to be more attuned to social validation or rejection. The amygdala, our brain's emotional center, shows different activation patterns in women when processing social feedback. But evolution is only part of the story. Modern society has created new pressures. From childhood, girls receive messages that their value lies in how they're perceived. Beauty, likability, and social harmony are rewarded. As they grow older, this transforms into an unconscious belief system. I am valuable when others validate me. Marriage, which once represented security and social status, now competes with careers, social media presence, and a culture that often portrays committed relationships as limiting rather than fulfilling. When a woman posts revealing photos despite being married, she's not necessarily betraying her husband consciously. She's often responding to an internal void created by these combined evolutionary and social factors. This isn't about excusing behavior, it's about understanding it. Because the Stoics knew that understanding precedes wisdom, external validation is the currency of the ego. But the Stoic doesn't trade in ego, he seeks virtue. What we're witnessing in modern relationships is the unconscious building of identity around how we are seen, not who we are. This affects both men and women, but manifests differently. Each notification, each admiring comment triggers a dopamine hit. The brain becomes wired to seek this external stimulus. Instagram Reels, TikTok trends, and the "you go girl" culture create an environment where emotional outsourcing becomes not just normal, but celebrated. You deserve better, girl. If he doesn't appreciate you, someone else will. Living your best life. These comments aren't just words, they're reinforcements of a worldview where emotional satisfaction is supposed to come from outside oneself, and they're particularly potent for women whose internal validation systems may already be compromised. The psychological term for this is external locus of control, the belief that your happiness is determined by external factors rather than your own choices and perceptions. Women who grew up with conditional love or who experience trauma are particularly vulnerable to developing this mindset. And here's what makes it particularly insidious. It feels good in the moment. External validation provides a quick emotional high, but like any addiction, it requires ever-increasing doses to achieve the same effect. A married woman who posts provocative content isn't necessarily trying to cheat. She's often trying to feel something that internal validation alone should provide. The validation cycle works like this. Feel internal emptiness or insecurity. Seek external validation to fill the void. Receive temporary relief. Experience diminishing returns. Seek more intense or broader validation. Repeat with increasing frequency. As Seneca might put it, does this bring you closer to wisdom or merely distraction? When my husband compliments me, I barely register it. But when strangers do, it feels different. I know it's silly, but I check my likes before I get out of bed. Sometimes I feel like no one at home really sees me anymore. These aren't statements of bad character. They're confessions of a psychological pattern that our culture has normalized. You're not supposed to hate her, but you are supposed to understand what makes her vulnerable to this, and guard your own peace accordingly. The desire for external validation isn't just psychological, it's biological, and understanding this can help remove judgment from the equation. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, plays a different role in women than in men. For women, oxytocin is released not just during intimate moments, but during positive social interactions. This creates a biological reward system for seeking social connection and approval. Female hormonal cycles also influence sensitivity to social feedback. Research shows that women experience greater emotional reactivity during certain phases of their cycle. This isn't weakness, it's biology. I notice I care more about likes and comments right before my cycle. It's like suddenly, I need to know I'm still valued. The need for external validation often intensifies during major life transitions, marriage, motherhood, career changes. These are times when a woman's identity is shifting, creating vulnerability. After marriage, Women often report feeling less seen as individuals and more defined by their relationship. After children, many women describe feeling invisible except in their role as mothers. Rates of depression and anxiety among married women peak during these transition periods, and interestingly, studies show that women who maintain strong social connections, both online and offline, report better mental health outcomes. But here's the crucial distinction: healthy external connection versus unhealthy external validation. The former strengthens, the latter weakens. The Stoics would argue that understanding these biological realities doesn't excuse us from responsibility. It merely explains the terrain we must navigate. Internal validation is not taught in our schools or homes. It's earned in stillness, in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journals, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do." As a man embracing Stoic principles, this understanding transforms how you approach relationships. You lead yourself first. When emotional storms come, and they will, you don't anchor in them. You observe without being consumed. For the Stoic-minded man, this means recognizing that her need for validation is not about you, holding firm boundaries about what behavior you will accept, modeling internal validation rather than preaching it, creating space for her to develop her own internal compass, understanding that forcing change creates resistance. The Stoic does not attempt to control others, only himself. This stance is both more effective and more peaceful. I see you're posting more revealing photos lately. I wonder what you're looking for in the responses. Not, "Why are you seeking attention from other men?" "I've noticed you seem happier when you get social media validation. What does that give you that you're missing elsewhere?" Not, "You're addicted to validation." The Stoics taught that we should focus on what's within our control, our judgments, our actions, our principles. Everything else falls outside our circle of control. You cannot control whether your wife seeks external validation. You can control how you respond to it. You can control what boundaries you set. You can control whether you allow it to disturb your peace. You cannot save someone from their shadow. You can only show them, through your example, how to stop dancing with it. Quiet strength is the ultimate Stoic masculine virtue, not dominance, not control of others, but mastery of self. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." If you're in a relationship with a woman who seeks external validation, consider these Stoic approaches. Examine your own validation patterns first. Are you truly self-sufficient emotionally, or do you also seek external approval in different ways? Create space for deeper connection. Often, the pursuit of external validation fills a void that intimate connection once occupied. Recognize the difference between attention and presence. You might be physically present, but emotionally absent. Presence means being fully engaged. Maintain your center. Don't allow her emotional state to determine yours. This isn't callousness, it's stability. Accept that you cannot change her. Only she can choose to seek validation from within. The Stoic sage doesn't lecture or condemn. He embodies the principles he values and allows others the dignity of their own journey. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Many women have never questioned their need for external validation because our culture has normalized it. Your role isn't to force this awareness, but to live in such a way that makes the alternative visible. So the question isn't just, why does she seek validation? It's this: where do you still seek it too? Perhaps in your career achievements, perhaps in your physical strength, perhaps in the admiration of others. The Stoic path isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about recognizing our own tendencies toward external validation and gradually shifting toward internal sufficiency. I've noticed in my own life that when I'm most critical of others' need for validation, I'm often blind to my own. The things that trigger us in others are often reflections of our unhealed wounds. Drop a comment if you've seen this pattern in someone close to you or recognized it within yourself. This community is about growth, not judgment. And if you've ever caught yourself needing the world's applause, remember, that's not strength. That's still the shadow talking. Freedom is the space between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're building peace that doesn't need permission. This is Stoic Lessons, where philosophy meets modern life.